Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Apologies that yet again I am in my big snuggly jumper thing. I am dressed underneath it this time, but it is literally so cold this morning I can't bear to not wear this. Anyway, in today's video we are tackling the physical TBR. We are reading books that have been on my TBR for the longest. So going into this video I didn't have a set TBR because I have so many books that I've owned for like 3 or 4 years that I've just never got around to reading. So I just kind of picked what I was in the mood for out of that selection throughout this video. So obviously you'll kind of see a few in the thumbnail and throughout the video you'll know which books we're going to read. But yeah, I didn't go into this with a set TBR. But the first book that I decided to read in this video is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I've had this on my shelf for, sorry I'm out of breath because I've just run up the stairs. I've had this on my shelf now I think for 4 years. It's a YA contemporary. It's about 2 twins that go off to university, and up until this point in their lives they've been like very joined at the hip, like do everything together throughout high school and stuff. But going off to uni, one of the twins doesn't really want that anymore. She wants to be more independent. But the other twin, who is our main character Kath, we're in like Kath's point of view, she kind of wasn't expecting that. She wasn't expecting the like separation of them, so she's struggling with that. She's very introverted, very much like keeps herself to herself, doesn't like to really meet new people. So that's Kath's kind of character, and then it's basically just following their journey throughout their first year at uni. It's pretty slice of life, just like following them and what goes on in their lives. So yeah, we had an interesting ride with this book. I am filming this intro after I've filmed the rest of the video. We had an interesting ride with this book, so I'm going to go straight into the next clip where I talk a bit more about my experience with this. Updates. So I've put Fangirl down. Not necessarily a permanent DNF. I'm going to try and pick it back up at the end of this video and see how I feel about it then. But I needed a break from it. It was making me angry. It was just... I don't like Kath. I don't like really any of the characters. I liked Levi, and then all he's talking about now is that he doesn't wash his hair, and it's just all a bit much for me. And I don't mean like he's struggling in life, so he's struggling to look after himself. He's just like, no, I don't wash my hair. And Kath's like, why? And he's like, just don't know, just don't. Like, just random little things. I'm like, does this need to be in the book? Like, anyway. So I've put Fangirl down, and the next book that I'm going to try and read is Songbirds, except I accidentally finished it and didn't give any updates, so I've already read it. Basically, this is kind of like a historical fiction, general fiction kind of book about a character called Nisha. I think it is Nisha, isn't it? Let me check. Yeah, Nisha. I'm awful with names in books. I've just filmed another clip for another video and done the exact same thing. Just completely forgot the character's name, even though I am currently reading that book and I only finished this one yesterday. Anyway, we've got Nisha. She is from Sri Lanka, but she lives in Cyprus. She's moved over there to work to try and earn more money to give her daughter a better life. Her daughter is still living back in Sri Lanka with, I believe it's with Nisha's mother. So Nisha's kind of on her own in Cyprus. Except she meets someone and falls in love. The book isn't about the romance though, like they're already kind of together at the beginning. And she's working as like a housemaid, and then one day she randomly goes missing, which is very unlike her. She left like all of her stuff behind and she just goes missing, and this book is about that. It is based on a true story, I believe, of 5 workers from Cyprus that were all from different countries. So it's based on that. Obviously I'm not going to say anything else or else I'm going to spoil it. But yeah, it basically follows her disappearance, but it's not like a mystery book. It's just like a tale of her life that happens to have a mystery in it, if that makes sense. It's not giving like mystery thriller vibes at all. It's just kind of following, I don't know how to, I was going to say following this story, like obviously because it's a book. But I don't know how to describe this. It's just, yeah, it's not like a, ooh, what's happening now on the edge of your seat kind of thing at all. I ended up giving this a 3.5. I did enjoy it. It was really quick to read. I listened to some of it on audio and read some of it physically. And it was really, even though it looks like quite a big book, the text is huge, which I love. And it's got big spaces between it, which is very nice. So yeah, I got through it quite quickly. It was a 3.5 because it's a very like important story. It really, you know, tells about a period of history that I didn't know about. It's not something I've ever thought about before. Usually when I read historical fiction, it tends to be about war. That's my kind of taste in historical fiction. So it was really nice to read something different that is still based on history, but like a smaller part of history, like individual people's lives. And something that, again, I've not heard about before. It just wasn't any higher because it wasn't slow. Like, as I said, I read it quickly, but it wasn't like, I don't know how to describe it. And I'm also conflicted with how I feel, because on one hand I'm like, oh, I want it to be a bit more kind of, you know, like, oh, what's happening, what evidence have we got, but also this is based on someone's real life, so it makes sense for it to be written how it was. It just means that the book isn't as like you know, on the edge of your seat exciting, but also I think it could be distasteful if it was written that way, because it's based on a true story. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, 3.5. I did enjoy reading this. It was definitely different, definitely very much out of my comfort zone. Obviously, that's the point of this video. But yeah, I ended up very much enjoying it. So that's one book complete. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. I'll get back to you when I've decided. I'm reading a couple of books for other videos at the same time, so I might finish those and then choose something else to properly focus on for this video. Actually, no, I've decided, I've changed my mind. The Essex Serpent, I started it a few weeks ago and put it down. So let's pick that one back up because it's been on my TBR for years. I honestly, even though I'm like 30% into it, I still don't know quite how to tell you what it's about. It's about this woman called Cora. Her husband passes away and she like moves to the countryside. That's basically all I've got. I said the next book I was going to read for this video is The Essex Serpent. Have I listened to a single second of the audiobook? No. Have I read a single page? No. I've actually started reading To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Harm. I've never read this series. I've read, what's it called? The Summer I Turned Pretty. Oh, please be quiet. I've read The Summer I Turned Pretty, didn't like it. The first book was fine. I didn't like the rest of the series at all. So I've been putting this off. I've owned the physical copy of this for God knows how many years at this point. But I realised earlier that the audiobook is included in Audible Unlimited. So like if you have an Audible subscription, you don't have to use a credit to listen to it. So I was like, well, it's free, so we might as well listen to it and get a physical book off the TBR. So this one isn't so much out of my comfort zone in that it's a romance, but it also kind of is out of my comfort zone because it's an author that I don't have a good track record with, and it's YA. And I still love YA, but I don't tend to love just YA romance anymore. I tend to prefer like YA, like coming of age, like more profound stories. Not even just profound, just something that's got more than just a romance to it. Like Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, love that, that's YA, but it's because it's got like the movie element, like it's got a bit of something extra. Summer of Broken Rules, that's YA, love that because it's got extra, like the game and blah blah blah. I feared that this would just be just like a YA romance, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I tend to like my romances just to be a bit, I don't know, just a bit of something more these days. But it's actually quite fun. The whole like letters thing, like, you know, going back and like seeing her fall in love with these boys a bit, and then like how she is with them in the present day, it's actually quite interesting. You know, it's not going to be mind-blowing. Will I read the whole series? Probably not. We'll see how this book ends. I mean, it might end in a way that makes me need to read the rest of the series, who knows. But yeah, it's fun, it's fine, and I'll probably just update you now when I've finished it. I'm not even like halfway through, but I don't really anticipate it being, you know, like a super up and down roller coaster ride of a book. I assume my feelings will remain pretty much the same, but I will update you if anything changes, and or update you when I have finished and let you know how it went. What was that? I finished To All the Boys I've Loved Before. She lied to a neighbour and said that she had a twin sister that passed from leukemia. She didn't, it was a lie. What? You expect me to like this girl and root for her and read a whole book about her? no, 1.5 stars. Complete contrast to what I said in the last clip, because it was like just a fun, silly time, and then she said that, and lost me at that point, just lost me. I did finish the book, because it was a free audiobook anyway, so I thought, let's, you know, should we see if this gets addressed? Never got addressed, never got brought up again. That was just something that she did that apparently, are we supposed to find that funny? Like, I don't get the point of that. And I didn't like it. After that, I just found Laura Jean really annoying. She was being annoying anyway, even without that comment. Like, she was just, I just think she thinks the world revolves around her a little bit. And yeah, she's a weird liar, so that's that. I really don't know what we're going to read next. I'm still filming like a few different videos and I need time to recover from whatever that was, to be honest. So I will pop back in. It might be the Essex Serpent, because I still have an audiobook of that. So it might end up being that, but we'll see. Because I want it to be something that I actually kind of want to read. But whatever. I'll let you know whatever we're going to pick up next to get some of these books off my physical TBR. Hello. Long time no speak. Again. I've still not read any more of Fangirl. I am still going to pick it back up and like give it another go, but as of yet I've not read any more of that. And I have started another book that has been on my TBR for a very long time. If you don't like spiders, close your eyes for like the next 3 seconds while I show the book, because it has the spider on it. You can't see much here because I've took the dust jacket off. It's Forest of Souls, Laurie M. Lee. This is a Fairy Loot special edition of this book that I bought in a bundle, must have been a couple of years ago now, and have never read it. I'm not far in at all to this one. I am on page 20 and I'm actually really liking it. It's not got very good reviews on Goodreads, so I don't know how the story is going to go, but just like in terms of the writing, the general vibe, the premise, I'm very much enjoying it so far. So I have reasonable hopes for this one that I will at least finish it, even if it ends up being like just a fun little 3-star. I have hopes that we're actually going to be able to finish this one. I think I'm also going to officially DNF the Essex Serpent. It's just not my cup of tea. I've not really engaged with it enough to say that like whether it's a good book or not. I don't think it's a bad book, it's just not for me. I bought it because it's got the most beautiful cover ever. But yeah, it's just not for me. Just not my kind of book. So yeah, I borrowed it from the library and then the hold ran out, and then I've borrowed it another 2 times and still not listened to it. So that clearly tells me that I am not compelled to read this book, evidently, because I've now borrowed it from the library 3 times as an audiobook and not listened to it. So we're going to DNF the Essex Serpent. I'm still going to keep my physical copy, so I'm not saying like I'll never ever read this, but for now we're going to DNF. It's clearly not what I'm in the mood for, or else I would have listened to it. So yeah, that's where we kind of are with this video at the moment. I will keep you updated on Forest of Souls, but I actually have high hopes that I might actually like it, which is kind of what I need for this video right now. Basically the premise is we've got our main character Saoirse. She lives in this kingdom, but she comes from nothing. She was an orphan. She grew up, I believe, in an orphanage, and she's trying to basically make something of herself. So we've got this woman called Kendara who works for the Queen, or with the Queen. Saoirse wants to be like Kendara's apprentice, basically. So that is her goal in life, her way of kind of making something of herself, which is very hard to do when you don't come from kind of a noble family in this world that they are living in. And yeah, it's basically following her journey with that. I'm on page 130 at the minute and I'm really enjoying it. I wasn't sure, like, I've put it off for a long time because I just wasn't sure if it was going to be for me, but it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. The pacing's great. I like the characters. It's easy to understand, but it's got enough complexity that it's not boring. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm not quite halfway through yet, so I might pop back in if anything kind of changes, or otherwise I'll probably just leave it till I've finished and let you know my final thoughts on it, because I don't know how much is kind of going to change in the meantime. And the other fantasy book I'm currently reading that I'm listening to on audio is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Again, I've owned it for so long, like so long, and still have not read it. So I got an audiobook from the library and thought it's about time I read it. I'm only 10% in, and again I'm absolutely loving it. It's basically like a Romeo and Juliet retelling in 1920s Shanghai, so it's just obsessed. I am an English girly. I don't mean like, I mean I am from England, but that's not what I meant. I studied English at university, and don't get me wrong, I did not love all of the texts that we studied, but I have always had a bit of a soft spot for Shakespearean literature. So the fact that it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, I love that. And I also love that it's a retelling of a story that I'm familiar with. I've read a lot of like Greek mythology retellings, but I'm not actually that clued up on Greek mythology, so they never quite hit for me. But because this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I love Romeo and Juliet, and I know the play very well, I taught it as well because I used to be a teacher. I've taught Romeo and Juliet a few times, so I am very familiar with the play. So I'm very excited to read this book and see kind of what Chloe Gong does with that original story. I love Romeo and Juliet, but I'm not precious about it. Like, I'm not going into this book looking to compare it to Romeo and Juliet in a way of like, oh, I don't want her to diverge from the story, like I don't care, do what you want with it. Like, I'm not precious over it. I just think it's interesting because I do love Romeo and Juliet, and I'm really loving the vibes of the book so far. Like the backdrop of Shanghai, just, yeah, it's just great. I'm really enjoying it. I don't really know what the plot's going to be beyond the Romeo and Juliet retelling because I am only 10% in, but so far there's been like death and things, so I think it is going to be quite like a full-on actiony kind of fantasy book, which is great. So yeah, they're the two that I'm currently reading. I have now finished Forest of Souls, and tell me why I loved it. Like, absolutely loved it. I gave it a 4.25 stars. As I said, it has a really low rating. It's like a 3.6 star or something on Goodreads, which, like, for Goodreads that's quite low, but I loved it. It was so good. Like, I loved the main character. She didn't annoy me. I just loved it. I loved the vibe. I loved the direction the book went in. I was definitely worried, you know, kind of near the beginning-ish in the direction the story was going to go, but I ended up loving it. I thought the pacing was perfect. Enough was happening without it being like, guys, can we just pause for a minute? Like, I just loved it. It was so good. So I would definitely recommend, and I'm definitely going to carry on with the series as well next year. I have finished These Violent Delights, and very similarly to the clip I've just filmed about Forest of Souls, the clip looks exactly the same because I've just filmed it, and it's also a 4.25 star. I gave them both 4.25. I loved them both. These Violent Delights, just exquisite. Can't wait to read the next one, and then read like because there's like a join-in series as well that kind of link in. Can't wait, literally can't wait to read them. So excited. I just loved it. I thought the Romeo and Juliet retelling was done perfectly. Is it a bit bait that her name is literally Juliet and his is Roma? Potentially, but I just thought it was done so well. I thought the basis of Romeo and Juliet was used without it being a carbon copy, but it wasn't so different that it was like, this isn't even a retelling. I feel like Chloe Gong kept the perfect amount of elements from the original story and then changed the right amount of elements and had it in like the stunning backdrop of Shanghai. I just think it worked seamlessly. It was so good. The pace of the story was great. The characters were great. The smidgen hint of romance we got. I'm so excited for that to hopefully come to fruition. But yeah, I loved it. I can't believe I've let that sit on my shelf for such a long time because it's so good. Like, why did I not just read it before? But yeah, at least now I'm so excited to read the rest of the series, and same for Forest of Souls that has sat on my shelves for so long. Yeah, I'm just excited now that I've got two really good series that I can carry on with. All we've got to do now is try and read Fangirl again and see if I'm actually gonna carry on with that one or not, because I really don't know if I am. But yeah, I'm gonna sit down with it this afternoon, I think, and give it a try and make my final decision one way or the other, because I'm sick of looking at it now and having it hanging over my head. So yeah, we will know soon enough whether or not I am going to continue. Hello. I actually finished it. A miracle in and of itself. I read this yesterday and actually finished it. I gave it a 2 star. I didn't love it. I still found the characters so annoying. The only reason I finished it, I picked it back up on page 175, read like another 100 pages, and then I was like, well, I might as well just finish it now. Wish I hadn't. I wish I'd just DNF'd it, to be honest, and actually spent the time reading something I wanted to read. The characters were just annoying. Kath is so... she's just really rude. And like, for most of the book, she's just so like self-centered. Yeah, just so rude, so like dismissive of other people and their feelings and their experiences, and I just didn't like her at all. So yeah, that was that, and that brings us to the end of this video. So we definitely had some like massive successes like Forest of Souls, These Violent Delights, and some other like good to mid books as well. And then obviously we've had a couple of flops, but all in all, I think we've done alright. I've found 2 new series that I'm so excited to carry on with, so I think that's a win. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up down below if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!